All right, let's get into it. Today, we're tackling those hidden forces that can totally shape our romantic lives. The invisible scripts that make us feel like we're just stuck in a loop, having the same relationship over and over again.
Have you ever had that feeling? You're in a new relationship, things are great, and then it starts to feel weirdly familiar, like exactly like the last one? You're dating a totally different person, but the same issues, the same arguments, the same old anxieties just keep popping up. It's super common, and man, can it be frustrating.
We're calling this whole thing relationship déjà vu. That sense that you've been here before, just living out the same script with a new cast member. But what if I told you it wasn't bad luck? What if it's not a coincidence at all?
Turns out there's a really powerful psychological reason that explains exactly why this happens. It's called attachment theory. And honestly, it's like the key that unlocks the mystery behind these repeating cycles.
So, to understand your relationships as an adult, we have to go way back. I mean, all the way back to the very beginning. We're talking about your first ever connection, the one you had as a baby with your primary caregiver. That early bond creates what we can think of as a relationship blueprint that you pretty much carry with you for life.
So, what exactly is this attachment theory? Well, it was pioneered by psychologists John Bowlby and Mary Ainsworth. And the big idea is that this first emotional bond sets the stage for, well, everything else. It's not just some childhood thing. It's a theory that explains how we deal with intimacy, how we handle conflict, and how we connect with people our entire lives.
And here's the really wild part. This blueprint isn't just formed by love or by having food and a roof over your head. It's built on something way more subtle, nonverbal emotional communication. It's all about how attuned in a caregiver is to a baby's needs, the cries, the smiles, and how consistently they respond to them. And this early communication basically sends you down one of two paths. On one path, you get a secure foundation. This happens when a caregiver is consistently responsive. It teaches you, hey, the world is a safe place and people are here for me. On the other path, you get an insecure foundation. This happens if a caregiver is inconsistent or scary or neglectful. It teaches you that relationships can be unpredictable, a source of anxiety. And that one split really does shape so much of our adult lives.
So, from that main split, psychologists have identified 4 primary attachment styles. I want you to think of these as the different kinds of blueprints people end up carrying around. So, let's break them down and see if any of them sound familiar to you. Here they are: secure, anxious, avoidant, and disorganized. As you can see, one is secure, and the other 3 are all different flavors of insecure, each with its own unique way of dealing with relationships. Let's start on a high note with the secure attachment style. And the good news is, research suggests this is the most common one, with about 50 to 60% of us having it. This is basically the blueprint for healthy and satisfying relationships. So, what does it feel like to be secure? Well, people with this style just feel confident and safe in their connections. They're not afraid to be vulnerable or to say what they need, but they're also cool with their independence. They trust their partners, they can handle arguments without freaking out, and they generally feel pretty good about themselves. It's all about that healthy balance between being close and having your own space. Okay, now let's dive into the insecure styles. First up is the anxious style. This one is defined by this really intense dynamic. You crave closeness more than anything, but at the same time, you have this deep, nagging fear of being abandoned. If you have an anxious style, you might feel like your relationship is your whole world. You often need a lot of reassurance that everything's okay. You might get jealous or worried when you're apart, and any little bit of distance can feel like a major threat. A lot of the time, your own sense of self-worth is completely tied to how the relationship is going that day.
Next, we have the avoidance style. And in a lot of ways, this is the complete mirror image of the anxious style. These are folks who are defined by a fierce sense of independence and, frankly, a pretty big discomfort with getting too close emotionally. People with an avoidance style really pride themselves on being self-sufficient. Their gut reaction when a partner starts to get really emotionally close is to pull back. They tend to push their own feelings down and might see partners who want more intimacy as being needy or demanding. The real paradox here is that deep down they still want to connect, but that fear of being dependent just keeps people at arm's length. This quote pretty much sums up the entire avoidant mindset. It's really a defense mechanism, right? If you learned as a kid that your needs wouldn't be met, you just learned to stop having needs, or at least to stop showing them to anyone. And that brings us to the last insecure style, disorganized. This one is often the result of a childhood that was really scary, maybe involving trauma or abuse, where the caregiver was both the person you needed for comfort and the person you were afraid of.
You can imagine how this creates a huge internal conflict. Someone with a disorganized style wants security and love so badly, but they're also absolutely terrified of it. Their behavior can feel really unpredictable, swinging from pushing people away to desperately pulling them back. They learned a very painful lesson early on. The people you rely on can also be the ones who hurt you the most.
Okay, so these styles might sound really compelling, maybe even a little too real. But is this just pop psychology? Absolutely not. There is a mountain of scientific research showing just how much these blueprints impact our real-world relationships. Take a look at this number. That's how many people participated in a massive meta-analysis. That's where scientists combine the results of a bunch of studies, in this case 73 of them, to get a really powerful, reliable picture of the data. And the results? They couldn't be clearer. The analysis found that the more anxious or the more avoidant a person's attachment style is, the less satisfied they are in their romantic relationship. It's a strong, direct link. The science fully backs this up. These early blueprints have a huge, measurable impact. Now, after hearing all of that, it's easy to feel a bit discouraged, right? Especially if you recognized yourself in one of those insecure styles. But this is the most important part of this whole thing, so listen close. You are not stuck. Let me say that again. Your attachment style is a blueprint. It is not a prison. Our brains have this amazing ability to change and adapt our whole lives. It's called neuroplasticity. You can actively, consciously work to develop a more secure way of connecting with people. It's something people call earned security. And we have proof this works. For example, a 2025 study on a type of therapy called emotion-focused therapy, or EFT, found that it was super effective. It actually helped people become less anxious and less avoidant, and, most importantly, more secure in their attachment. So change isn't just some nice idea, it's totally achievable. So how do you actually start? Here are 4 practical things to think about. First, work on your nonverbal communication and learn to manage stress. Those are the foundational skills of attachment. Second, boost your emotional intelligence so you can understand what you're feeling and what your partner's feeling. Third, and this is a big one, spend time with secure people. That stability can actually be contagious. And finally, if it's part of your story, work to resolve past trauma that might be keeping you stuck in these old patterns.